I guess that's over to me. Thank you so much, Stephen. Andy, thank you for asking me to participate in the meeting today and to join you guys. Really a privilege and an honor, and I'm really happy to be here. My name's Isaac. I'm an alcoholic. Um, I don't really know where to start, so you're gonna have to bear with me. I was asked to share about 8 minutes ago, but also I'm hurting today. I'm really hurting. My grandmother passed away yesterday. Um, I had a beautiful experience. I was able to help guide her through her transition yesterday afternoon, and yeah, today it's just been just sat with all this stuff. And but look, as the result of this beautiful program and what it is we do here, I've been able to do that in a healthy way. I've been able to be of service to my family. I've been able to be present in the moment. Despite anything that's going on external to me, I feel free today, no matter what, no matter anything. And what we have on offer here in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, um, in my experience, is so much more than just not drinking. Huge part of it. Huge part of it. I came into Alcoholics Anonymous in the end of February, beginning of March 2022, and I was 25 years old. I was almost dead. This illness was killing me. I couldn't see any kind of a way out. I couldn't perceive a life without drinking. But I reached a point as well where I couldn't carry on either. That jumping off place that A Vision for You talks about, I've experienced that to the core. This illness progressed really quickly for me. Although 25 might relatively seem like a young age, I didn't feel young when I came into the rooms. I felt, more than anything, I felt tired. I felt tired. I felt exhausted. I didn't have anything left. That was the last kind of thing I remember experiencing. I didn't have anything left. And I'm talking about internally. Like I said, it progressed quickly for me. I picked up my first drink at the age of 11, separated from alcohol at the age of 25, and in that span of time, managed to fit in a lot of drinking, a lot of damage, a lot of progression, a lot of illness, a lot of physical, mental, and emotional harm to myself and to other people. And I don't say the only reason I say that is for identification and qualification. I'm an alcoholic. I start to drink, something fundamentally abnormal happens to me. I try to stop, or more importantly, I try to stay stopped, and I have this inability to. I can't stay away from the first drink no matter what. In fact, when I stop drinking, it's like the problems start. I stop drinking and I'm left with Izaak. And on top of a allergy to alcohol and a mental obsession, I'm also just have a really difficult Izaak problem. I've got this human condition where I just don't quite know how to fit in or how to be comfortably. That's something I've always experienced. But interestingly, as the drinking progressed over time, so did this spiritual malady for me. And so when I came into Alcoholics Anonymous in 2022, I couldn't function very well. And that initial experience of you guys and what it is we do here was so powerful. As mentioned, I reached a point where I didn't have anything left. I couldn't carry on. I couldn't stop either. And in that very small window of opportunity where the desperation cried out louder than anything else going on, including my thinking, ego, and illness, a member of Alcoholics Anonymous reached out to me and 12-stepped me over the phone. And they were on the other side of the country. I live in Bristol in the UK, which is kind of in southwest of the island in England, and they were the other side of the country. And so they couldn't do much for me physically, but they knew people in Bristol, and they said, hold on, Izaak, we're going to make some phone calls. And, in my head, I'm thinking at some point in the distant future, someone might text me. And I get a phone call very shortly after saying, where's your address? I'm on the way. And very shortly after that, a car full of alcoholics came to pick me up. Now, normally, if a car full of alcoholics were pulling out outside of my apartment, that wouldn't be a good sign. Usually be some kind of consequence of something that I'd done. But this was different, right? The people they got me out of my apartment, they put me in the car and they took me to my first meeting. And this was my first exposure to Alcoholics Anonymous. It wasn't an intellectual exercise, it was a demonstration through action of the core principle of what it is we do here. Our fifth tradition, one alcoholic helping, or in this case, multiple alcoholics helping the still suffering alcoholic. It's going to be okay, Izaak. We're in the right place. I heard the phrase welcome home many times in my first week, and it hit something within because I've never felt at home. Even in my places of residence, I moved around a lot as a child. I never really felt at home. And I get to this meeting, and I'd love to say I remember exactly what the main sharer said that night and how powerful the message was, but I was still detoxing off alcohol and really unwell. But what I do remember and what resonated again was the demonstration through action of what it is we do here. People sitting down and taking the time to speak to someone like me, taking my phone number and then calling me after the first meeting, taking me for coffee, taking me to more meetings, introducing me to my first sponsor, explaining repeatedly, because for someone like me, you got to repeat stuff. It takes a minute for things to sink in for someone like me, and just repeating that we do have a solution to this problem, that there's this book that we work through, and the 12-step program is contained within this book, and what this allows us to do is get connected to something far bigger and greater than ourselves that can remove the obsession to drink. And it's funny, I remember I think it was the third or fourth meeting I was at, was the first meeting I ever shared back at, and it was only because it was a round robin, so I had to open my mouth, and it must have been really reflective of where I was at, right? How unwell I was, because as soon as that meeting ended, someone walked up to me, didn't say a word, they just handed me this book and walked away. They said, read the doctor's opinion, actually, and walked away. This is the same copy of that book. And over the next few weeks, I got a sponsor and was shown the fellowship side of what it is we do here and the service side. I was given a service position, started getting involved in the in the meeting space and listening. I couldn't go through the steps right away because I had a physical dependency and I had to go through a home detox. I wouldn't recommend a home detox. I just couldn't get into an inpatient at the time. And my sober date is the 28th of March 2022. That's the last day I took a drink and any other outside issue. And the obsession hasn't come back since then. Not because of anything I can do by myself, but because this program really does work. The reason I'm so passionate about this stuff is because I've experienced what it is that's on offer. I continue to experience what it is that's on offer. Those initial first few chapters of the book helped contextualize an experience that I realized I'd already had just before I came to my first meeting. I appreciate that's not everyone's story, but it's mine. It's, being able to concede that I am completely powerless over the first drink, and on top of that, this internal unmanageability that I continuously experience trying my best by myself. I can see from the seizures to hospital visits to harms caused to other people that there's nothing I will ever do apart from pick up a drink again by myself. Powerless, no question. Still today, haven't obsessed about drinking in over 3 years. I will drink again left onto my own devices. I'm an alcoholic, a hopeless alcoholic. But that's okay. It's actually a really good thing, which is kind of strange. And looking back at, the most painful and difficult and desperate situations as the result of my active alcoholism became my greatest asset, because they allowed that concession. They gave me that gift of desperation that crushed the ego enough for me to have a willingness to follow in the footsteps of you who left the lights on and the doors open, who signposted me to this solution. And as I start to go through the step 2 onwards, this solution, something fundamentally started to change within. We Agnostics is, if not one of my favourite chapters in the book, largely in part because I had a lot of, I don't know how I'd even describe it, because I wasn't an atheist, although I did call myself that at certain points in my life, but I had a lot of confusion and misunderstanding and antagonism around the idea of God and a higher power, especially in relation to the 12 steps before I came in here. I had old ideas on what I thought you guys meant when you talked about God, or when God was written in the 12 steps. I had old ideas around my own conceptions of God and what they may be or not be, and a lot of fear. However, when I got taken to the second step and my sponsor started instructing me to develop a prayer meditation practice, it wasn't alien to me because my grandmother, I spent a lot of time with her as a child. A lot of time. She was like my second mother, and she was one of the first women priests in the UK. For a long time, women could practice in the church, but they couldn't be priests. And then when they could, she was one of the first. And she took a lot of time out to teach me what prayer looked like and how to get still and communicate with something. And so, although I may not I didn't necessarily align with her specific spiritual path at the time, it wasn't this brand new thing that I had to discover for the first time. I had some kind of an understanding. Not that an old idea around prayer would save me, but it really helped. It really helped for someone like me who had a lot of fear when I initially came in. And then reading We Agnostics and seeing that, when we talk about God, and this, I repeat this to anybody who might be new, to set aside whatever, I use the word God today, but whether you use that word or all the other words that are available to use, higher power, spirit of the universe, spirit of nature, Zara of the heavens, and so many words. Instead of worrying about what anyone else means when they use them, what do those words mean to you? Because what we cultivate through an experience of these 12 steps is a personal relationship with a power within. That's been my journey. Doesn't matter what anyone else might believe. And what's beautiful about this power or spirit or God is it doesn't make any kind of hard terms with those who have a willingness, those who earnestly seek. What's that phrase in the book? All inclusive, never exclusive. It doesn't matter if you have a long-standing spiritual or religious belief and practice, you're so welcome and there's so much for you available here. And the exact same goes for those who come in with no belief or half a belief or agnosticism or anything in between. There's something on offer here for you if you have identification with the problem, with the powerlessness, with the unmanageability. There's something on offer for you here. I promise you that. Because there was something on offer for me. Now, as this journey continued, and I start to see in the third step that the root of my problem isn't even the drink, it's selfishness or self-centeredness. The root of the problem is the Izaak problem. Every time I read how it works with someone, it always hits the same as it did that initial time through the steps with my first sponsor, because I see myself, the actor trying to be the director, self-seeking even when trying to be kind. That was one that shifted my perception on a lot of stuff, because for a long time I operated under the belief, well, if I'm just acting nice to you, that means I'm being nice, right? It means I've got good motives. But when I'm constantly being driven by a need to get something from you, whether that's alcohol or love or attention or approval, it's conditional. I'm only going to act a certain way toward you if I get something back. Otherwise, I'm discarding you because there's nothing for me. That was me for a very long time. And it meant when I did get 12 stepped and brought into the rooms, my guard was knocked down. Because again, demonstration through action of complete selflessness, something I had very little experience in. And seeing that me being driven by 100 forms of self isn't indicative of me being a bad person, but someone who is just unwell. I'm just spiritually unwell. I don't choose to act in this way. It's the best I can do by myself without a power in my life. Again, still true today. Not because I'm a bad person, not because any of us are bad people, but if I don't have an alternate solution, I lean into my defects. I lean into self. And so that key decision to turn all things over to this power and through thorough and honest inventory and sharing that inventory, seeing for the first time these patterns in my behavior that mean I am holding on to resentment and fears, and not just like fear of the dark or fear of spiders, but like real deep rooted stuff, like fear that no one could ever like me because how could you like someone like this? Or fear that I'm never gonna I'm never gonna experience contentment or peacefulness. Fear that this is all there is. That evil and corrosive thread affecting everything. Um, Continuous harmful conduct in intimate and outside relationships. And again, seeing it's not because I'm a bad person, but I'm spiritually unwell. Being able to see the defects and the aspects of self that operate in repeating these things. I mean, you look at I've done 3/4 steps now. You look at any one of those from that inventory. It's just the same. It's just the same stuff down. It's just the same bits of self doing everything. It just manifests in all these different ways, right? And creating that sacred space to share it with another human being and God as well. And once I start to wake up to that, I'm given a willingness to turn over. I see the defects that drive me, but I can't do anything about it by myself. For what does our book say? Faith without works is dead. It's really important for me to see this stuff, but the self knowledge isn't going to save me either. It has to be met with action. So 6 and 7 vital for me continuously. 8 and 9 vital for me. If anyone hasn't done a 4th step yet, I want to really assure you that there's nothing to be afraid of. Those are the 4 and 5 are the steps that set me free. Those were the steps for me where the obsession was removed and hadn't come back, dependent on what I do today. It's where this spiritual experience that is promised in our steps started to take place. This change in personality or change in thinking or profound alteration in the way that I react to life. Start to move into a recovered state, start to experience safety and protection from the first strength. And then the process of 8 and 9, that continuous ego deflating process of meeting people, looking them in the eye and frankly analysing the past, being able to offer action as an amends. Sometimes I use the word sorry if it's appropriate, but I was taught to not lean into that because for a lot of people who've been around me, that word means very little. What's more important, again, what you taught me, demonstration through action of the change that is occurring. Now, whether the people on the receiving end of that want to see me or not is not up to me. That's up to God. And I've had amends where I've been met with open arms and tears. I've had amends where I've been told to F off. I've had amends where they don't care if I'm there or not. And they're all exactly as they were meant to be. I don't work the 9th step for forgiveness, but I've been offered some beautiful experiences of being forgiven. I don't expect it, but I'm also very grateful because I'm not entitled to it. I'm not entitled to anything. Everything's a gift. So today, genuinely, life is beautiful in its entirety. Step 10 allows me to continue watching and to see, more importantly, see things for how they really are. And that includes when I react to things in a way that's objectionable. When I do slip into fear or selfishness or be dishonest, that's okay. There's a process for that. There's a process for being human for me. And I've found actually it's in my humanness and shortcomings and mistakes that I'm really given strong opportunities to grow. Because the solution always remains the same to me, which is God. And so I can sometimes lean another way, get a bit uncomfortable. Suddenly I'm being driven by self again for a minute. And then that pause where I always find God. in between the words, sharing with another human being, immediate amends if applicable, turning our thoughts to someone we can help. I'm pulled out of it. I'm moved into the 10th step promises. I cease fighting. For the first time, mind, I cease fighting. Before it's funny, like the way I like to look at it is before the 3rd step. I'm walking upstream. I'm walking against the current. Everything feels like a struggle. That was my journey. Everything felt like a struggle. And then when I'm thoroughly practicing the 10th step, I still experience like human emotion and everything that contains, but the only struggle that ever comes up is my own struggle. The process itself isn't a struggle, I've found. I'm the only thing that can put blockades up sometimes, and that's okay. Because 10 paired with 11, that continuous conscious contact with God has cultivated something so special and personal and unique to my experience. It's something that continues to evolve and grow for me, whether that's the morning practice or the evening practice or the pause throughout the day or just my perception of this power that resides deep down within. It seems to grow alongside my recovery, which is beautiful. And it's like it expands every time I hit something where it's like, oh my God, how am I going to get through this? God just gets bigger. God just gets bigger. God just gets bigger. Because it's so much more powerful than my limited human thinking. It's why I try not for myself to put too much emphasis on, fully defining or comprehension of this power, because I'm very aware how limited this is. One, it can be the center of my problem, and two, it's finite. But I find this power I'm able to tap into as the result of your direction and our literature and other things that I like to read and other practices I like to try. It's infinite, ever growing. And the real privilege and honor of being able to work with others and help others and just watch other people's journeys, like it excites me like nothing else does. I can finish a full day of work, be on my way home, be so tired, and just like all I want to do in that moment is just lie on the sofa with junk food and put on some Netflix and go to sleep. But I've got to meet someone for an hour, right? And I've definitely got the hour spare. I spend an hour scrolling on my phone. I definitely have that time spare. And then I go and sit down with this person and watch them wherever they're at on their journey. And by the end of it, I'm more excited than they are. I'm skipping down the street on on the way home. It rejuvenates me. What does it say in the beginning of working with others? Nothing so much ensures immunity from drinking as intensive work with others. And I stole this from didn't steal it, but it really stuck with me. Something another speaker said about, the amount of people to sponsor, because it's not an objective thing. It depends on each person, I've found. But what I heard was, if you're not at least slightly inconvenienced by the people you work with, you're probably not working with enough people. Doesn't mean my life has to be unmanageable, but just slightly inconvenient sometimes. Usually means I'm on a good level. Usually means it's intensive work. And I love it so much. There's a part of the book in A Vision for You, and I'm just going to paraphrase it, where it's going through the journey of of the first people, Bill W. and Dr. Bob, and then AA number 3. I can't remember if it's when they meet AA number 3 or the next person, but there's a small paragraph that talks about, we initially do this, the 12 steps, working with others, this experience, because we don't want to drink again, right? We don't want to die. We want to stay alive. And that's still true for me today. Don't get me wrong. But that's the initial drive, right? When I first come in, it's like, I'm going to die unless I do this. I need to do this. Still true today. However, that motive becomes secondary to genuinely wanting to do this because it brings us joy and purpose and peace and just the gifts. My life has transformed into a continuous process of me trying to get something, get the right thing so I can feel okay, to this transformed state where I'm able to look and see where can I give something, because it's in that I find God. It's in that I find purpose in my life. It's in that I'm able to be. And that applies everywhere for me, not just in the rooms, not just with people that I work with in the book, but everything that I do. And I definitely don't do it perfectly. I'm a really flawed human being. But that's the perfect ideal, right? That we get to aim toward, knowing that we're going to fall short because I'm not God. And this experience I've had in the past week, it's shown me that in such a deep way. I got the call last Friday that my grandmother was dying and had moved to what's called in-home hospice, which basically means get you as comfortable as possible before you reach your end, right? And I was able this week to come down here and spend my afternoons with her, feed her, talk to her, give her cuddles and kisses, and just spend time with her. And then yesterday, I was with her all afternoon, and I was there with my mother, and she went out for a bit, and I'm sat with her, and I sensed something was changing, and I didn't know what to do. I started to get overwhelmed. But my instinct today isn't to run away from that, it's to go inward and ask God for help. What do I do? What do I say? I've never experienced anything like this before. And I was given the direction, I was given the inspiration. I was able to sit and just hold her hand and just talk to her. I told her where she was and that she was at home in her bed with her grandson. And I love her very much. I know she loves me very much. And I just reiterated to her how grateful I was, not just that she was my grandmother, but for the childhood she gave me, for directing me toward God before I was ready to receive it, to point me in the direction of a spiritual path, just to be with me in that moment. And then my head went back to those memories as a child. And the first prayer she ever taught me was the Lord's Prayer. So I got on my knees next to her and I said the Lord's Prayer. And I told her that's what I was going to do, and I led it for her. And when we finished that prayer, she started to go. And I was able to help her with that. Let her know it's okay. We're always going to be together because this thing is infinite. Whatever this is that I'm in right now is just a vessel, right? We're spirit. And something happened as she started to leave her body. I felt a physical. I can't describe it. I've never felt anything like this in my life. My body started vibrating. It was one of the most beautiful experiences of my entire life, as well as, one of the most sad, but that's okay as well. I didn't know how this was going to affect me. I knew this was going to happen someday. I didn't imagine it being anything like this. In the same moment, right now, including yesterday, I feel grief, love, laughter, tears. It's like the entire human experience in one go, and it's really overwhelming sometimes. But again, when that happens, the solution's always the same, which is to go inward and go to God. Always. And it's always okay. It's just always okay. I've never felt more safe and protected as I do in this moment. And just the privilege. She was in the room when I was born, and I got to be in the room with her when she passed. And there was a moment a couple of days ago before she went, I started to get in a little bit of self-pity about it. Then it hit me again, the inspiration that this is how things are meant to be. Grandchildren are meant to outlive their grandparents. It's the natural order of life. And it almost didn't turn out that way. I almost didn't make it. I very almost didn't make it. The last 18 months of my drinking, I had 3, say, near-death experiences. One of them, I was moments away from dying. And she almost outlived me, and she didn't have to experience that because of what we do here. Because of the 12 steps. Because of this power, because of you guys, because of our book. We're giving gifts like to be present for our families, or our loved ones, or just other people in day-to-day life, no matter what, to be able to practice spiritual principles, practice pause in our social interactions or around our loved ones. and to not drink, right? Or like whatever's going, like the it's not even the thought hasn't occurred. It's not part of the periphery, not just the alcohol, but in where she was staying, there was also some other really strong, hardcore medications that I'm trusted to be around, unlocked, because I'm able to show up as a responsible human being today. Gratitude doesn't quite describe the experience I've been having over the past couple of days, but I'm so grateful. The ability to not just be sober, but to be here in the right now, to be present to this is rocketed into the fourth dimension to me. Holding my grandmother as she transitioned to wherever we go after this and see it and feel it, that is rocketed into the fourth dimension for me. The love I have for you guys and the 12 steps and Alcoholics Anonymous is I think it's bigger than my heart sometimes because it's just radiating out of me. But it's here, and I love you guys so much, and I thank you not just for guiding me into this solution and into what we do here, but the the functioning stuff as well, right? Like I was taught from very early on how we do things here, right? How we approach the newcomer when they come into a meeting or someone we don't recognize, how we show up for service, how we do things we say we're going to do, how we practice honesty and integrity, how we admit when we have messed up, and that's something that happens fairly often for me. I can be a functional human being today. I can be a brother, I can be a son, I can be a sponsee, I can be a sponsor, I can be an employee, and I can be a grandson. I tried my best to do all of those things before, and I was never very good at it. But the solution always remains the same. And if you're new and this is something that's completely brand new to you, I'm sorry if I've gone way off. I want to assure you, you never have to drink again. There's something profoundly powerful and offer here that separates us from that problem. But then beyond that, the gift of life, the gift of being able to be, the gift of comfortability, the gift of being present in the face of difficulty, far beyond anything I could have imagined for a bog standard alcoholic like me. My experience is mine, but it's not unique. If you identify with the problem, this solution is an offer to all those who have the willingness to earnestly seek. My number is next to my name if anyone would like to talk about this stuff some more, but I'm really looking forward to hearing to you guys. Thank you for letting me speak.